Week 3 of Mesh is in the books, and we're down into now the finals of our SKI tournaments. So let's take a look and see what happened over the last week. I have the top 25 rankings up on the screen. We have a new number one. So the Kent State Golden Flash, juicy. Number one team in the country. They dropped 525 points this week, and our current former number one went down twice in conference and out of conference. That would be Oklahoma State. He falls, in fact, all the way down to 18, despite scoring in the upper 400s per week so far. Pretty tough shake to be 3-2. He had some bad injuries. We'll get into it. But that's the big story of the week. Number one goes down, and we have a new number one. Number two is the Liberty Flames of a mid-major. Pretty crazy. Still number two. We have Davidson with Subban, Colorado, number 4, Princeton, Nicholas Blau, Colgate at number 6, Mr. Gray, Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, Gooner Boy, Arkansas Razorbacks, Andy Hensley. Don't know why I'm saying everyone's name. I'm gonna butcher these. Bowling Green, number 9, Castiag, 10, Pennsylvania Quakers. Maybe I'll stop. South Florida Bulls, Gab Phil, North Carolina Tar Heels, Scotty Diesel, UCF Knights, Dario Guap. I believe it was him. Very professional of me. I'm going to check the conference in the middle of the video. I believe it was Dario Guap who did beat Oklahoma State last week in conference. And it was. So he moves up to 13. Part of your ranking considers who you beat. Beating the worst team in the league is not as good for your ranking as beating the best team in the league. So beating number one is a big deal. And Dario Guap's now 5-0. That helps. The points aren't really there yet, but 5-0, beating number one seed, that's going to get you pretty highly ranked. Seton Hall at 14, Loyola 15, Air Force 16, with an interim head coach, meaning that that's the commissioner manipulating that lineup. Long Beach State, a mid-major, sitting there at 17. Like I mentioned, our former number one, Oklahoma State, Jay Huck at 18. The Rice Owls, with maybe my favorite name, a crispy chicken, at 19. Virginia, Huckab at 20. Two mid-majors at 21 and 22. That's Delaware, Spritz, and Stonehill Skyhawks, our commissioner, Vostedtler. Got clarity, it's Vostedtler, not Vastetler. So Vostedtler is correct. Georgia Bulldogs at 23, North Carolina Wolfpack, Lightning, 24, and Michigan Wolverines, that's Penn, at 25. You can see if you are a mid-major team like me and you aren't ever going to be on the top 25 perhaps, you can always look at the mid-major power rankings as well. They're posted on the website too. Liberty is number 2 in the nation, so it would make sense. In fact, 1, 2, 3, and 4, these guys are all ranked in the top 25 already. And missing the cut by just a bit are 3 teams back to back to back from the Coastal. Go Coastal. Hampton Pirates, SamWow, Presbyterian is Koseki, and I am the Stony Brook Seawolves, and each of us are hovering just outside of the top 25 overall. We make up 5, 6, 7. 4, 5, 6, 7. Vostedtler's is Coastal too. So the Coastal, kicking ass. I love the Coastal. All right, let's look at a couple other things. But before we do, I want to make sure that everyone watching this is on the same page about what this season kickoff invitational means. So you saw me last week go through a few of these brackets, right? And this is our out-of-conference matchup right now. So we're playing our regular games in conference. We're trying to win our conference if we can, but we're also playing these out-of-conference matchups, and these are available on the website. So, for example, we have Air Force, Illinois State, Seton Hall, South Alabama, James Madison, Hofstra, Iowa State, and Idaho. These are not teams in the same conference. They're paired up in this setting, in this out-of-conference tournament, and we're all competing, and these wins get us points towards our ranking, essentially. Also, winning a tournament's just a fun, cool thing. But this tournament for the SKI, the season kickoff, it does not end here. Winning this SKI is not the end of the road. There is a season kickoff champions bracket. So the winner of Air Force and Iowa State yes, hats off, congrats. You won a tournament. That's cool. It's really fun. It's rewarding to be the best out of the 8 teams, no doubt. But you will find yourself taken from here. You'll be put here, advance to champions bracket. The next tournament from weeks 5 to 9. This is week 4. So next week, the SKI champions bracket begins. And it takes all 23 winners from each of these initial SKI regional tournaments, puts them all together ranked from 1 to 23 based on your overall ranking. And then we battle it out till there's one team left. So at the beginning of each season, we have an even bigger tournament than March Madness. This is literally all 184 teams, single elimination. We will have one champion, and it's quite the illustrious thing if you want to get into your prestige as a coach. Pretty special if you can win one of those. So I would certainly still rather have March Madness, but this is a pretty close second. So just be aware, if you are still in the running in your SKI regional and you win, it is not the end of the road. You will be advancing to this SKI Champions bracket. And this is just one of many tournaments throughout the season that's an out-of-conference tournament. Also, starting in week 5, just for mid-majors, we have Mid-Major Mayhem. And this is literally March Madness, but only for mid-majors. There are 64 mid-majors exactly, and therefore, all 64 of us are going to slot in here. We're going to duke it out, and we're going to simulate what it would look like if we were the entire field, because realistically, there are going to be some automatic entries for mid-majors, and you can see right now there are 4 mid-majors in the top 25 seeds, but realistically, there aren't going to be very many mid-majors who are competing at the highest level, and so this is essentially the mid-majors' only chance to have a real, I could win this big-time tournament. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Fuji is the number 2 team in the nation right now and has sustained it now for 3 weeks. So who knows? Maybe there could be 1 or 2 that kind of push the envelope and actually compete in the bigger scheme. But generally speaking, this is going to be the one thing we can get hyped up about as mid-majors throughout the whole season. And then there's a host of other tournaments throughout the year. This is the Invitational, which takes place weeks 6 to 8. Those brackets matchups already set. We have a conference challenger tournament, and this is going to be conference versus conference. There's also actual conference tournaments, not conference versus conference, but like your conference needs a champion, and you determine that through a tournament, just like regular college basketball. There's regional showdowns. I think there's also rivalry week, even though those matchups may be TBD. I don't know if I'm supposed to show that yet. These may change, but lots of fun stuff happening outside of your conference. Don't be a hermit. Get into the website, look around, join other leagues, talk to people, look at your opponents, see who they're playing. There's some strategy involved there too. So this league is about so much more than just your conference, although it is fun to have good conference mates, right, and try to win your conference. There's a whole lot of conferences going on, a lot of basketball being played outside of the standard bounds that you're probably thinking, unless you've been in this league for a while. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. We didn't go into it a lot last week. So if you already knew all this, sorry, but I think it's important to make sure that everybody's on the same page so we can all get enjoyment out of this to the fullest. I'm not a pro podcaster, and I'm not exactly sure whether all of this screen will really be visible, but I'm going to show you some things I'm working on with this data. So I did it on the last iteration, the old Mesh League. I had gone through, took not only what your points are, which is generated automatically into the commissioner's sheet, but I manually entered in what your maximum points could be. So if you had played your perfect lineup, that is your max. That's what I have labeled here as your max PF points. And so it isn't just about how many points are you scoring, it's about how many points could you have scored if you had picked a better game, if you had picked the right matchup basically for each of your players. So it's one thing to score a lot if you're basically maximizing your potential. That's an interesting thing to note, I think, versus a team who maybe has scored poorly but has all the max in the world, right? That's a team with untapped potential. That's a team that you could see make a jump later. Management of your team and your picks, obviously it's a crapshoot and you can't exactly predict it. But there's something to it. Over the course of a long season, I have seen, tracking this for multiple seasons previously, there are certain teams that are just better at it than others. And it's not that every single week they make great decisions, but over the course of a season, there's significant enough deviation between the good and the bad that you pretty much know there's something there. There's a strategy of some kind, right? It gets thrown to the, um, that's not a saying, but it gets messed up sometimes. Sure, one bad pick when someone that you didn't start who gets 50 more points than normal, that's going to tank your efficiency for that week. But over the course of a 20-week season like this, trends start to play out, and I think you can make meaningful conclusions from them. Over the course of the analysis I did in the old mesh, I was seeing 83, 84, 85% efficiency, that is the percentage of total possible points, your max, that you capture. So if you are capturing 85% of your total max, you're doing very well. That was like borderline top 10 number in the 224 team old mesh. So I have the figures they're here. You have your points, your max points, your efficiency, your total number of best picks, meaning you picked the best option for one of your players, your total number of low picks, worst picks, I think is what they should be called, the average points against you, which is just a fun little thing to note who's had bad luck, who's had good luck in terms of their opponents, and then the point differential. I'm only now realizing that points against is only in conference, so that's a caveat to that. I'll probably label it that way going forward. The data that I've done this for is just for the mid-majors. It takes a lot of work to manually log this, and this. So I don't have it ready for everybody. By next week, I hope to have it ready for all of the conferences. But that involves me literally going one by one into the weekly report, looking at the numbers and typing them into this sheet. So it takes some time. So cut me some slack, please. That said, I think it's going to be fun. If we really want to, we can take conference by conference look at some of the hard numbers. I think some of the things that jump out at me when you have this at your fingertips is that it is no fluke that Liberty has scored 467 points a week, which if we want to sorted it upside down. He's 47 points better, Fuji, shout out to you. You deserve it. 47 points better than the second most in the mid-majors. But the max is similarly above. It's 53 points above anyone else. So even though 85% efficiency would not be right at the top, well, it's pretty good. Like top 10 out of 64 mid-major teams. Keep in mind there are 64 mid-major teams. It isn't the number one efficiency, but he has so much firepower. 547 is ridiculously high. Frankly, I don't expect there are that many teams that are power 10 teams who have more than that. Probably a few, but not that many. So he has a hell of a team. But yeah, I think that this will be a fun way to slice up the data as we go. So I'm looking forward to doing some of this as well. If you want to help me and be involved in some way, making these videos a little bit easier, faster, better, I'd be happy for you to message me. It's Justin_White. I think that's my name. You'll see it. And let me know, because we can collaborate a little bit on some of the data stuff, in data entry, especially for your conference, for example. Like, it would help me if I had someone that was doing this in part. It would help me get the stuff out faster anyways. So let me know. But yeah, some of this is on the way. There's more stuff I want to do. I think now we'll get into the actual SKI updates and the brackets results from the semifinals. All right, we're going through SKI results. We have completed the second round, and now we have the finals of each of these 23 brackets. So I'm not going to go much into the losers side of the bracket. No offense, there's just not that much time, and so it's more fun, I think, to focus on the teams who are ranked and alive, and highlight any mid-majors as well. I think that's especially fun. As a mid-major, it's not easy to compete. And just one more time, in case you don't know, mid-majors are in 16-team leagues, which means that the talent dispersion is much more spread out. You should not be able to compete if you are a 50% quality team in your league in a 16-team league, you should be scoring less points than a 50% quality team in a 12-team league. That's just basic logic. More talent is on each team in the power conferences. So being in mid-majors is a distinct disadvantage, but I think it's a fun wrinkle for the league. So anytime we have mid-majors, man, we got to celebrate those guys because that's an underdog. That's a Cinderella. That's a real Cinderella. So first bracket here, we have 16th seeded Air Force taking on Iowa State. Air Force is an interim head coach, which means that the Vostetler, dang it, that's going to be hard. It doesn't sound right in my head. He is managing this lineup, so I really hope they lose. Like, I don't want to see a freaking interim head coach get into the champions bracket. So go D. Carlson, former Iowa great from the old mesh. And then I didn't mention number 4 seed Seton Hall getting upset. So Vault Gang, tough week. Hopefully you can take out James Madison and at least get one more win, go 2-1. But that's always disappointing when you're a top 4 team and you go down before the finals. So better luck next time. The next bracket has South Carolina taking on Hampton in the finals. Hampton of the Coastal, go Coastal. SamWow 123. He's been one of the more interesting teams to me. In fact, this will get a little hectic if I kind of bounce back and forth like this. I probably shouldn't. I don't even know if I have it up anymore. I know it's a little messy. I'm not a pro, so take it easy on me. SamWow Hampton. So he has scored 376 points a week. You might say, oh, that's not a ton. It's kind of on the lower end. But his max has been 484. That is third best out of mid-major teams. So you would look at 376 and say, that's good but not great in terms of mid-major. That puts him as the 15th most highest scoring team, but he's third in max points, which means that there's potential. There's a lot of firepower there. The efficiency, frankly, is a little bit low, 77%. So I think there's room for Hampton to sustain some real success, even though you would look at, the 383 and the 402, you wouldn't be blown away by those numbers, but he has had significantly higher potential both of those weeks. So big strings of South Carolina. Don't take him for granted here. We got a real coastal contender trying to make it to the champions bracket. Otherwise, number 14 seed got beat, also of the coastal, Leo Rapoli. So William and Mary Tribe had a great week, beat Akron by 2 in the first round. Not such a great week this week. I think injuries had a part in that, if I recall. And also number 18 going down. So man, seeds are dropping left and right already. That was the only top 25 team in the Big Ten as of last week. Jake Matt of Iowa going down. Neither team are ranked any longer after the loss. Okay, next we've got number 22 Western Kentucky going down to number 24 South Florida. So that was a big matchup. Western Kentucky did not show up. Doesn't look like 347. Not going to cut it in most of these second rounds. So Gabville with a pretty comfortable victory moves on to take on number 1 Kent State Golden Flash, scoring 525 points. That's some serious point production. He only got 426 the week before. Beat that by 100. 426 was already the highest score of any of the 8 teams in round 1, and then he beat it by 100. So good luck to you, South Florida. Beating Western Kentucky, not the same as beating Kent State. I think Kent State has a great chance, but we'll see, man. Number 1s don't last long around here. And we'll get to that soon. The Rice Owls advance after a pitiful performance from your mom's favorite coach. Come on, coach, what are you doing? 301 points. That's tough. Not the best showing, but I'm giving you a hard time because you're my guy. Rice Owls 19, a crispy chicken. I don't know why that tickles me. It's just a great name. Jacksonville State Gamecocks advancing to the finals, a mid-major team, and probably my favorite story of this, because if you slice up the data for the mid-majors and you look at the rankings, overall rankings, if we sort that A to Z, you have to go down 22 spots to find Jacksonville State in the mid-major rankings. And yet he is here primed to take on Rice, who only scored 350. Jacksonville State would have beat Rice this last week. He was the highest scoring team of any of the semifinalists at 354, which is probably the highest scorer in the semifinals for any tournament. But still, my man Jacksonville State has a chance. I am pulling for him. No offense to Crispy Chicken, my favorite name. That would be fun to see the massive Cinderella continue. Next, we have Arizona State, Kyle 23, taking on the number 7 Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, Gooner Boy. Sorry, I think you said I didn't say your name last week. I apologize. Gooner Boy. I'm saying it now. You deserve it. Number 7 in the country. Frankly, after 510 points, I expect for you to have no problems with Arizona State. But we'll see. Yeah, that was all. We had number 15 playing number 6 last week in the next tournament, and Arkansas pulls off the small upset. Providence did not bring their A game. Sean 10-17. Sean 17 doing really good in our NFL Survivor pool, though. I'll say that. He's the only guy with no strikes left. Arkansas Razorbacks, Andy Hensley, a great team in the Old Mesh, now advances to face number 2 Liberty Flames. That is a blockbuster matchup right there. So Liberty follows up his 498 in the first round of the tournament, knocking off a ranked opponent, and follows it up with 489. We've already talked about him a little bit in the mid-major section. He's a freight train right now, so frankly, I expect him to beat Arkansas. He's beaten him by over 50 points in both rounds. So Arkansas is going to need a perfect week, or he's going to need Liberty to pull an Oklahoma State. And we'll see. Anything can happen. Next is Princeton, Nicholas Blau against Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns, Gibby, 6'9", 420. I think I played, and Gibby beats Boucher, both of them old Big 12 guys in the Old Mesh. So shout out to you guys. And shout out to Nicholas Blau, who jumps up into the top 5 despite being unranked last week after an obscene 552 points. That Ivy League, too. The amount of chats in that Ivy League is ridiculous. The amount of arguments, the amount of fun conversations. So Ivy League is a great place to be. Unless you're Nicholas Blau's opponent, I guess. I don't know who he beat this week, but that's nuts. I guess that's a lot on that. Looks like to me that Nicholas Blau is going to have an easiest time. I don't know why I keep saying that. Nicholas Blau. Ball State 16 lost their seeding despite winning in this tournament. They beat number 17 Pepperdine, but again, lost their top 25 status. They must have lost out of conference, and what's interesting is that they're facing used to be number 7 Georgia State, who advanced, but also lost their top 25 seeding. So 2 teams that were ranked that won their out-of-conference matchups, but neither are ranked anymore. Quite strange. They obviously both lost in conference, so that's just odd. So all 3 teams that were ranked last week are no longer ranked coming out of this. So that is strange. And maybe the only team that I will reference as part of the losers bracket, UT Arlington. I am currently enrolled in my master's at UT Arlington, so go Mavericks. Boo Boo scored 458 this week. That is tough. You would have easily crushed any of these other folks if you were in the winners bracket. So tough luck to face Ball State in the first round. Next we have Penn beating Baylor, last year's runner-up, and Scaro, last year's champion, denying the rematch, which would have been a lot of fun, but I don't blame you, KJ Evans. You got to do what you got to do. And yeah, Scaro of Loyola beats Flash of Georgia. That's a classic matchup if we were talking Old Mesh. And now we've got number 10 versus number 15. That should be pretty fun. We'll see who advances on to the champs bracket. This one's a heartbreaker for the Coastal. We had Towson ready to seize this low-scoring week from one of the power teams, Penn. They only got 282, but we could not close the deal. So Andrew Lamas kicking himself. I know he had some injury trouble as well since he's in the Coastal. I kind of know what's going on. So 277 to 282. Long Beach, also mid-major, one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the mid-majors right now, takes out LSU. So doesn't exactly look like an upset right now per se, but hey, that's kind of fun when you have a mid-major taking out one of the just biggest colleges in the nation in terms of the real world. So Kashmir, pretty heavy favorite over Penn State to advance. That would be great. We get one of the mid-majors in there. No offense to Haas McBoss. I'm sure you're great and everything, but I'm rooting for the mid-major. Next, we have Oregon Gianti facing another mid-major, Delaware. He's one of the few mid-majors to be ranked. He's number 21, and he's scoring lots of points, 393 and 439. Louisiana Tech, also mid-major, put up a great fight. 439 to 418 is a heck of a battle. So it's a shame someone had to lose. Oregon's coming off of 457, so this should be a slugfest. Oregon, frankly, with another week like that, it's going to be hard to keep him out of the top 25. I don't even know how he started, but when you score that many points, your ranking goes up quick early in the season. Next, we have Bowling Green, number 9 overall, coming off of 2 straight 425-point-plus weeks, facing Charleston of the Coastal. So I love Olave. Has scored only 326 in round 1, but he really upped his game to 396 in round 2. He's probably going to need to up his game again if he wants to survive, make it to the champions bracket. But as we have seen, anything can happen. Tulane facing UMass. So it's Tom Spreckley and Your Daddy, respectively. Shout out to Your Daddy, even though he's a Houston fan. I will say, not the most exciting bracket. We've hit 400 once and exactly 400. So frankly, no offense to you guys, whoever advances, you're probably going to be one of the lower rated seeds in the champions bracket unless you can pull off a big time point total here. So hate to say it, but you might be a sacrificial lamb to one of the big dogs. But hey, it's tournament time. Anything can happen. And Exhibit A of that is the little Stony Brook Seawolves. Justin White, I don't know who that is. He defeats number 1 overall Oklahoma State. Definitely had some injury problems. Didn't get a game out of LaMelo. Had someone else that didn't really play either. He had all kinds of illnesses happening in the NBA this week, so that definitely was not your normal production from the former number 1 Jay Huck. But I was happy with it, right? 428 for me. Got the pretty big win. And it's just cool anytime, and I'm biased, right? But anytime a mid-major can take out number 1, any ranked opponent, it's a neat story, I think. I'm going to take on now Eastern Michigan Eagles, Chris Rahi, who's a super friendly dude and has joined our chat and said good luck like 3 times. Good luck to you too, sir. Even though I don't mean that. I hope you lose. Yeah. Oklahoma State, man, tough. You drop all the way to 18 after that phenomenal start. But this is the aberration. I mean, 380. That's I got super lucky. That's all I can really say. The commissioner, Voss Stetler, goes down after a strong start. Sorry, I can't get my mouse to work. 388 after a huge 483-point performance last week. Dario Guap is the in-conference foe who took down Oklahoma State, as I mentioned, I think already. So that is tough for the commissioner. UCF now will be forfeiting their best player, which is the penalty anytime you defeat the commissioner. So I hope it was worth it. He's taking on East Carolina, who just scored 468. So that should be a good battle. But UCF at number 13, I suppose, should be favored. It's hard to say this early in the season whether anyone should be favored over anyone. Next, we have Ohio State, Mr. Hawk, taking on the hot and ready Pizza Duke Blue Devils. I wonder if he gets like a check from Little Caesars every time someone reads that name. So yeah, Duke, I think he might have taken a few losses in conference, or maybe at least one, because he's not ranked despite scoring a pretty good amount of points. Ohio State, about 400 a week. So looks like it's probably anyone's game. No huge scores really have come out of this just yet. Got BYU, which was ranked number 3 when the tournament began, advancing to the finals here, but he hasn't scored a huge number yet. He's facing DePaul, who has outscored him a little bit, but not by much. So that's probably going to be a pretty even matchup there. We've got USC, Stormy, facing number 3, Davidson Wildcats, who have been scoring a ton. 479 round 1, 491 round 2. Stormy just put up 319. I mean, Davidson would have beat him by 180 points. I think, frankly, you can just go ahead and pencil Davidson in. No offense to you, Stormy. Hope you prove me wrong. Davidson is going to be a top 4 seed in the SKI Champions bracket. It seems pretty clear to me, unless they score a lot of, very few points. But it's hard to see the upset happening. So just trying to give you some bulletin board material there, USC. And then we have Northern Illinois against Yale, which is Ty Robb against Firecrotch. I don't think, neither of you have really popped or scored a big number. Pretty evenly matched, it looks like. We have Clemson beating North Texas, and they're facing Xavier. Hershey scored a lot week 1. Week 2, I should say, the first round of the tournament. 403 last round. Clemson, kind of similar point totals. So whoever wins that might very well end up ranked, because that's if you score a decent sum. We have North Carolina. I think this is oh, never mind. North Carolina, number 12, facing Missouri. So that's Scotty Diesel and Jiggy K, 2 names I recognize from the old mesh. A lot of points coming in for North Carolina. That's why they're 12. When you score 441 and 436, that's going to do it. Missouri, frankly, would have got beat by 90 last week. I'm definitely going to put my money on North Carolina, but you never know. We've got Colgate at number 6, beating number 11, Lightning, by 51. Convincing win, despite Lightning, who's having a great season as well. Still ranked number 24 after the loss. And number 3, Virginia, Huckab, has fallen all the way to 20 despite the win. He must have lost in conference. So this is a matchup of 2 teams that were just ranked inside the top 10. They've sort of mirrored each other. Colgate popped in week 2. Virginia popped in week 1. Whoever wins this is going to be a real contender, it feels like to me. Champions bracket. We've got Colorado, number 4, against West Virginia. So that's the Colorado Sharks and cousin. Colorado has risen from 17 to 8 to 4 and 451 points, 465 points. That's a compelling, scary resume. Top 4 team. Also looks like a good bet to advance, but you never know. That's the end of the SKI. I don't think we're really going to cover anything else that's long enough. So maybe if I don't add anything, then see you next week. If you would like to get involved with any of these, please let me know. If you want to see anything in particular, please let me know. And I think I'm just going to keep posting them in every conference and linking the videos for now. Not going to be a famous YouTube guy, but if you do want to subscribe, it'd make it easier for me so that I make sure people see it, because hope that people enjoy it. So yeah, that's probably it. I don't think I'm going to add anything else. So I guess we'll just do another one of these next week.